Usually, it's the movies that aren't on your radar that end up blowing you away. Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 movies that will blow your mind in 2020. For this list, we're looking at movies coming out in 2020 outside the typical superhero mainstream fare that will certainly surprise you. If you like what you're hearing, be sure to check out the full song at the link below. Number 10, I'm Thinking of Ending Things. When Midsommar came out in 2019, it was described as both a horror movie and a breakup movie.
Well, these are the candidates for the 9th and final offering. We patiently await your verdict.
I'm Thinking of Ending Things is another film that will bring out the terror in troubled relationships. Based on Ian Reid's acclaimed debut novel, this thriller stars Jessie Buckley as a woman considering calling it quits with her boyfriend, played by Jesse Plemons.
Hold on, I think my pizza's here.
On a trip to meet his parents, they take a detour full of philosophical conversations and psychological twists. From Being John Malkovich to Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind to Anomalisa, writer-director Charlie Kaufman has given us some of the most mind-bending films ever made.
What's going on?
Oh, for God's sake, Lisa, pull free from him and come back here. Where are you gonna go, Michael? Be reasonable. There's nowhere to go.
He's never tackled straight-up horror, however, which will make this Netflix movie all the more unpredictable. Number 9, The Many Saints of Newark.
What do you hear? What do you say?
Over a decade later, fans are still analyzing the ambiguous ending of The Sopranos. We may never get a sequel series, but this prequel movie will give us a glimpse of a young Tony Soprano, played by the late James Gandolfini's son, Michael.
You disobeyed your old man, and I ought to give you the belt. But I gotta say, a lot of boys your age would have run like a little girl. But you stayed.
Of course, this crime drama is just as much about Tony's father, Giovanni Francis Johnny Boy Soprano, played by John Bernthal, and Christopher's father, Dickie Moltisanti, played by Alessandro Nivola.
You call me the Punisher, ain't that right? The big bad Punisher. You want to
Remove the witness.
I am the Punisher.
Taking place during the 1967 Newark riots, the screenplay is being penned by Sopranos creator David Chase and Lawrence Connor. The Sopranos was already a very cinematic series, but The Many Saints of Newark should be especially worthy of the big screen with Game of Thrones director Alan Taylor behind the camera. Number 8, Mank.
Rosebud.
It's no secret that Orson Welles directed, produced, wrote, and starred in Citizen Kane. Yet people sometimes forget that this cinematic masterpiece had a second writer who was just as integral, Herman J. Mankiewicz. This biopic shines a light on Mankiewicz, played by the great Gary Oldman, and the various problems he confronted while developing what's widely considered the greatest film ever made.
You see, it was pointed out to me by my new friends that you might even rise up and tear me down when I for one moment contemplate parley or surrender.
Mank should be a deeply personal film for director David Fincher, seeing as how it was scribed by his father Jack prior to his passing in 2003.
My job is to clear the pipes and keep the sludge moving, but I won't have to be a plumber much longer. I've done my time. I've backed the right man.
Fincher previously directed the pilots for House of Cards and Mindhunter, delivering 2 hits for Netflix. Mank promises to be another winning combination between the streaming service and a filmmaker at the top of his game. Number 7, Zola.
Did you ever in a million years imagine, like, oh, this is cinematic material?
Yes.
Did you really?
Yes.
We know that Hollywood will make a movie about anything but a Twitter thread. It may sound like the industry is grasping at straws, but if you're familiar with Asia Zola Wells, you know why her unbelievable story needs to be adapted for the silver screen. Janixa Bravo's film centers on a waitress named Zola who spontaneously decides to take a road trip to Florida with a woman she just met. The two intend to make some quick cash by stripping, but Zola soon finds herself wrapped up in a plot involving an unstable boyfriend, a trigger-happy pimp, and trapping. If the early reviews coming out of Sundance are any indication, Zola should be every bit as wild and crazy as its source material. Number 6, Blonde. Although Marilyn Monroe is arguably the most iconic blonde in cinematic history, she ironically dyed her hair.
Hey!
Good evening.
I just washed my hair.
With that in mind, perhaps it's fitting that Monroe is being portrayed here by Ana de Armas, who is naturally a brunette.
I'm coming with you. But not like this.
The Cuban-Spanish actress has risen to popularity in recent years with her supporting role in Blade Runner 2049 and lead performance as caretaker Marta in Knives Out. De Armas looks completely unrecognizable as the blonde bombshell in this Netflix movie. Don't sit down expecting to watch a conventional biopic, though. Writer-director Andrew Dominic instead offers a fictionalized depiction of Monroe's life based on the novel by Joyce Carol Oates. Real or fantasy, we're expecting a fascinating exploration of the woman behind Marilyn, Norma Jean Baker.
You're not giving yourself a chance. Don't fight it. Relax.
Number 5. Annette. Annette marks the first film in nearly 8 years from French director Léos Carax, who previously brought us Holy Motors.
It's so weird.
Adam Driver plays a stand-up comic, while Marion Cotillard stars as his wife, an opera singer. It's not uncommon for talent to run in the family, but their daughter Annette is born with an especially extraordinary gift. The plot has otherwise been kept under wraps, but that setup alone already has us hooked. Ron Mael and Russell Mael of the rock band Sparks wrote the screenplay and the songs for this original musical. Between Cotillard's musical track record and Driver's surprisingly solid singing chops, Annette should carry a unique tune to say the least.
I'll show you the dark side.
Number 4. Last Night in Soho. Although Shaun of the Dead is often billed as a comedy, it also works as a legitimate zombie movie.
How's that for a slice of fried gold?
Yeah, boy!
Director Edgar Wright's knack for horror will be on full display in Last Night in Soho, which he co-wrote with 1917's Christy Wilson Cairns. The premise sounds a bit like Midnight in Paris with a psychological thriller twist.
He's distracted by the fact that she was an absolute volcano in the sack.
Thomasin McKenzie from Jojo Rabbit plays a woman who travels back to the 1960s where she meets her idol, an aspiring singer played by Scream Queen Anya Taylor-Joy.
Show me mercy. Show me that light.
60s London isn't quite what she pictured, however, taking her to places reminiscent of Repulsion and Don't Look Now. Following Baby Driver, Scott Pilgrim, and the Three Flavors Cornetto trilogy, we'd be shocked if Wright ruined his perfect track record now.
Well, ain't y'all cute? That's my baby.
Number 3. The French Dispatch.
Arthur Howitzer Jr. transformed the series of travelogue columns into the French Dispatch.
Considering that writer-director Wes Anderson has yet to produce a true critical dud, it's not surprising that he would make a, quote, love letter to journalists. His latest film takes place in a fictional French city during World War II, chronicling a series of stories from the French Dispatch magazine.
I'm naked, Mrs. Clemens.
I can see that.
Anderson's usual suspects are on board, including Frances McDormand, Jason Schwartzman, Willem Dafoe, Tilda Swinton, Saoirse Ronan, Adrian Brody, and of course, Bill Murray. The film also marks Anderson's first collaboration with Timothée Chalamet, Christoph Waltz, Jeffrey Wright, Benicio del Toro, Elizabeth Debicki, Elizabeth Moss, and Kate Winslet, who seem well suited for the wonderful world of Wes. The French Dispatch is poised to be the ensemble piece of the year from a filmmaker still in his prime.
The aromas of the kitchen cast a spell, which was to be mortally broken.
As you know by now, we have kidnapped your son.
Number 2. Tenet.
All I have for you is a word. Tenet.
Christopher Nolan's name alone is more than enough to get any film fan excited. Likewise, Nolan is one of the few filmmakers working today who could secure a $205 million budget for an entirely original idea. From Memento to Inception to Interstellar, the maze of time has always played a key role in Nolan's films. So it was only a matter of time until he made a time travel espionage thriller. Tenet centers on a man who sets out to prevent World War III from happening.
To do what I do, I need some idea of the threat we face.
John David Washington of BlacKkKlansman plays the agent selected for this task in a cast that also includes Robert Pattinson, Elizabeth Debicki, and Michael Caine. Although it possesses echoes of Nolan's previous work, Tenet looks anything but familiar.
What happened here?
Hasn't happened yet.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Dune. If David Lynch's 1984 version of Dune seemed to prove anything, it's that Frank Herbert's epic sci-fi novel is simply unfilmable.
I can't see him yet, but he's very close now.
Damn sloppy. Really damn sloppy.
Of course, we never expected to see a Blade Runner sequel that lived up to its predecessor.
An angel.
Made again. For you.
Yet, director Denis Villeneuve exceeded expectations, proving that he was the right filmmaker to finally do Dune justice. Bringing together an all-star cast that includes Timothée Chalamet, Rebecca Ferguson, and Oscar Isaac among others, the film transports the audience to a bleak desert planet overrun with massive sandworms. The story follows its heroes on a perilous journey to obtain the spice, the universe's most coveted substance. Even if you've never heard of the books or previous adaptations, we guarantee you'll hear a lot about Dune going forward.
Russell has called a big one. Again, it is the legend.
Do you agree with our picks? Let us know in the comments. And hey, if you're a fan of the song playing right now, be sure to check out the music video for it right here.
But some more when you come through the night.